Whoa! Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Ryan Craig. You are tuning in to Steak and Potatoes, the very first episode we have had here at Aurora University. The Steak and Potatoes Show is a show that dives into sports and also everything else, conspiracy theories, hottest news, anything that you want me to talk about. Make sure you hit me up on social media. I will show you the links later in the show. So let's dive into the hometown hot takes, as there's a lot to cover. Bears lose to the 49ers at Soldier Field with a score of 15-14, dropping to a 3-9 record. Robbie Gould gets his revenge and scores every single point for the 49ers. The Bears will take on the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati on Sunday. The Bulls have continued their losing streak to a 10-game stand as they lost last night against the Indiana Pacers. Score. The Blackhawks go to 12-11-5 on the season after yesterday's loss to the Washington Capitals with a score of 6-2. As the Blackhawks go on a 5-game losing streak. Come on, Chicago! So the Cubs are also in the news, but they are looking at the Japan baseball prospect Shohei Ohtani on Tuesday. They have brought him in. The prospect is a very good young talent, and the Cubs are known to be one of the top teams that might land him. The White Sox also have a something to look forward to as they rebuild through the MLB draft. They are in the top 5 for the picks as it goes number 1, the Tigers, number 2, the San Francisco Giants, number 3, the Phillies, and your Chicago White Sox. Wouldn't you know it, at number 4. So let's move into my favorite, Keep the Change. So the Keep the Change segment is a fired up segment, and the Bears are right in the cross line.
You gotta ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
The Chicago Bears have reached an all-time low this weekend. You get embarrassed by a team with 1 win coming into your stadium. Not only do you lose to a terrible team, but you lose to the kicker you got rid of because he wasn't worth signing. Come on. Oh, and by the way, let's not forget, Alshon Jeffrey beat you down the previous week. He's another guy you let go. You should show your incompetence and show no direction. This regime has been historically bad, and no one should have job security. John Fox, you are 12-32 as a record as a coach in Chicago. You've had your time. And by the way, when you do a post-game conference, make sure you get your kicker's name right. It's not Carlos Santos, it's Cairo Santos. Okay? Hey, Chicago Bears, you're not in the clear yet. Here's a reality check. You've not been relevant since firing Lovie Smith after taking the Bears to a 10-6 record. Since then, you've delivered coaches with the likes of Mark Trestman and John Fox. You've dropped the ball, Chicago. The sad part is the city bleeds blue and orange. Deliver something to your loyal fans. They deserve better. On a finishing note, I would like to say, keep the change. Whew. So let's get back into sports, as I had to get that off my chest. College football playoff. They just came off with the brackets. Clemson looks to take on Alabama. Oklahoma will take on Georgia as your top 4 teams in college football. As they get to the playoffs, it was a hard way to get there. What a season that we were able to witness. But do you agree with the selection committee? Now, a lot of people are not happy with it. A lot of teams that might have a chance to beat the teams that are already in there, obviously didn't get a chance to get in there. And a lot of people are, especially from being in Chicago, a lot of people are saying that the championship did not give respect to the Big Ten. Wisconsin and Ohio State didn't make it in. They were right in the ball. I would say they have a fair ground of saying, that they had every chance to get into this conference and this bracket, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. It doesn't go your way. But then that opens up the next question. Do we expand the bracket for more teams? And I would say yes. I think that college football has got a weird setup lately with the way that they do this bracket. If you look into high school, Division III and Division II, they all play on a 16-team bracket when it comes to the playoffs. Why doesn't Division I? That's what I really want to know. I think that it's kind of something that is weird, and I think that the College Football Committee can change their ways, and maybe it would be a better kind of situation, and you would have more exciting teams and teams that deserve it to be in there. Which again, it would mean more football, more free football. Just odd to me, but Division One might be a little bit different. But I mean, even if you look at NFL even has longer, brackets than them. So anyway, let's go into the MMA world. UFC 218 fight recap. Wow. Let's talk about these fights. Okay, we got to witness one of the best fights that has happened in the last decade. Yancy Medeiros and Alex Cowboy Oliveira took on each other at UFC 218, and Joe Rogan is known to called this round, the first round of this fight, the best in MMA history. And he might be right. You watching this fight, these guys were going back and forth. It reminded me of the old days of Stephan Bonnar and Forrest Griffin when they were fighting, and it was just a dog fight. I remember, if you even, you look back at the Clay Guidas and the Diego Sanchez fights, which were just intense, just people just swinging and looking to knock people out. But I loved even more after this fight that they had so much respect. They were hugging each other. They went to the hospital together and they took a picture together. It just showed great sportsmanship. Just a thumbs up to them. They're both winners in that fight. Let's go into the next fight, which, oh man. So the heavyweights took on each other's Francis Nugent and Alistair Overeem. Two dieseled up men, just to the gills. These guys are huge, man.
I'm so big, sometimes I even scare myself.
Francis Nugent is known as having the hardest punching power recorded in the world. He proved that right on Saturday. He proved that right. He knocked out Alistair Overeem in a devastating uppercut. I mean, just a clear, brutal KO over Overeem. So now you have to think, does Francis get the shot at Stipe? And they just came out the other day that Stipe and Francis Ngannou will be headlining a UFC title fight in the coming future. I'm sure that fight will take place in Cleveland, where Stipe is from. This is a great chance for Francis to get in there, and I love how the heavyweight division has really seen a loss in ratings. There's not a lot of people that are exciting for it, and I think this is a new turn. I think that we're going to see a lot of good fights coming at the heavyweight position, and I think Francis is one of those monsters that you just love to fight. It's just every time you watch him fight, you're on your toes. You know what I'm saying? You're off your seat, and you're ready to look what's going to happen next. It's really exciting. So let's move on to the main event of the fight, Holloway versus Aldo 2. Holloway defended his title against Jose Aldo after he beat him in the previous fight. But let's be honest here. Holloway is a machine. He beat down Aldo with strikes. It was shocking. Also, he looked stiff. He wasn't himself. Aldo did not look himself in this fight. And Holloway is just a dog and just picked him apart. You just see bomb, 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 snap, snap, snap of the head and the jab cross. It was an intense showing from Holloway. He knew he was the better guy. He showed it, but another good, classy fight. And Holloway just looks dominant. He dominates Jose Aldo, dominated that division for so long. And he made Jose Aldo look like nothing. I mean, he clearly beat him. So, who's next for Holloway? Who's next for Max Holloway? You would say Conor McGregor, right? I mean, that's the fight to make. But does Conor McGregor go back down to 145? Or if he ever fights again in the MMA? Now, mind you, again, we had that fight that with him and Floyd, and he made millions of dollars. And Dana White even had a good, conversation topic about this. Would you come back and get punched? It's hard to get punched in the face when you're already making millions in the bank, right? If you're already set for life, why would you want to come back in that fashion? So does Conor McGregor come back for that fight? I doubt it, but I think that fight would be a challenging fight for Conor McGregor. I think Max Holloway is, again, just a machine. And he would not be scared of Conor McGregor, and I think that stand-up that Holloway has would just do it right with Conor McGregor. But again, Conor, if we ever see him again, that's up in the question. It's up in the air. And Holloway is just going to be doing his thing. I mean, he's going to be dominating. I think Holloway might be facing, the next fight against Frankie Edgar. So we'll see how that fight goes. I love seeing Frankie Edgar out there. He's a dog. But who knows? Time will tell. So that's a wrap for today's show. But hey, next week we will meet back at the same spot and the same time. Don't miss it. We will discuss new topics emerging in sports. Also get ready for the crazy as we dive into the weird and unexplained theories floating around the world. Follow me on Steak and Potatoes on social media. Direct message me and possibly be a guest on my show. I would love to have you guys out here again. I have 3 seats here, okay? It's cold in this room. The more people, the merrier. I would love to have you in here. I got the okay. So we will bring you in here. We will get you doing whatever you want to talk about. And we'll see where that goes. So thank you for tuning in. We will meet again next week. Like I said, 2 shows next week. We will cover all the sports, and I will pregame everything that happens in the next week. You guys stay safe, you stay humble, and you stay crazy. And I will see you again. That's it for Steak and Potatoes. I'm your host, Ryan Craig. See you later.
Elvis has left the building.
I'll be back. Only in a rerun.